Hereditary is a 2018 supernatural horror film, written and directed by Ari Aster, and was Aster's directorial debut, which went on to win numerous awards. What a clever boy. Our story begins as artist Annie and her family attend the funeral of her late mother. She is joined by her psychiatrist husband Steve, her 16-year-old son Peter, and her 13-year-old daughter Charlie. Annie struggles to find any positive words whilst reading her mother's eulogy, and makes it abundantly clear that the two of them didn't exactly see eye to eye. During a bereavement support group, we find out that Annie's mother had a significant, though damaging, influence on her daughter Charlie's upbringing, and feels it created a rift between herself and her children. A week after the funeral, Steve receives a distressing call from the cemetery manager, who tells him that Annie's mother's grave was desecrated. Steve withholds this information from his wife, and figures that it's probably best not to burden her with it, especially as she is preparing for a long-awaited art exhibition. Meanwhile, Annie's 16-year-old son Peter takes a shine to a girl in his class, and when he is invited to a house party, jumps at the chance to go, as it means he can get to know his crush a little better. He asks his mother if he can borrow the car for the evening, and she gives him permission, but only if he promises to avoid alcohol, which obviously goes without saying, and if he takes Charlie with him. He's not too happy at the prospect of babysitting his introvert sister for the evening, and neither is she, to be honest, but Annie believes it would be a good opportunity for Charlie to mingle with some other kids, and maybe make some new friends. When the siblings arrive at the party, we quickly notice that it isn't exactly the kid-friendly soiree that Peter described to his mother. The teenagers are not only liquored up, but are also partaking in a spot of the old devil's parsley. Peter strikes up conversation with his crush, and whilst they retreat to a bedroom to smoke their brains out, decides to leave Charlie unattended downstairs. Poor Charlie didn't even want to go to the stupid party, but now she's all alone around a bunch of drunken strangers. It's not all bad though, as she manages to scrounge a slice of delicious chocolate walnut cake. However, she has a nut allergy, and when she starts to experience an anaphylactic shock, she finds Peter, and they rush out in search for the nearest hospital. Peter is really in the shit now. He's put his sister in danger, and is now speeding whilst under the influence. Surely this evening couldn't get any worse. Charlie really is in a bad way, and sticks her head out the window whilst gasping for air. Peter swerves to avoid some roadkill, and Charlie's head makes contact with a telephone pole. He stops in the road and hopes for the best, but unfortunately his antics have resulted in the decapitation of his sister. On a level of 1 to 10, this is an 11 on the shit brother scale. Then Peter goes to bed like nothing has happened. What an absolute twat. So there we have it. A brother trying to come to terms with his downright idiotic negligence that has led to his sister's death. A mother that discovers a way to communicate with her dead daughter, even if it means harming her own family. And Steve, who's also there, but would rather pretend like everything's fine and dandy. Will Annie overcome her indescribable grief when she befriends a seance-loving lady who attends her support group? Will Peter ever forgive himself for being an absolute dickhead? I mean seriously, what were you thinking, man? And what happened to Annie's mother's gravesite? I wonder if it somehow links to all the harrowing, disturbing scenes that follow on from this horribly tragic scenario. I first watched Hereditary shortly after it was released, and for some reason dismissed it as simply another bizarre horror film. But after viewing it again recently, my opinion has gone a complete 180. I can't believe how wrong I was back in 2018. Was I really that desensitized? This film is absolutely bonkers, and truly a terrifying mind-bending tour de force. In just over 2 hours, this movie takes you on a mad roller coaster of emotions, and I don't think I'll ever look at a treehouse the same way again. Scenes of possession, headless corpses in the attic, a whole lot of screaming, and even Gabriel Byrne on fire, who by the way, is fantastic as the cynical father. In fact, all the performances are top-notch, especially Toni Collette, who had me transfixed from the moment she appeared on screen. Hereditary is a dark and gut-wrenchingly sorrowful thrill ride that will leave you gawping at the screen in disbelief. What begins as a catastrophic sequence of loss mutates into a breathtaking supernatural nightmare, and I for one, absolutely loved it. It doesn't rely on jump scares, or crappy CGI monsters, and it doesn't need to. Prepare yourself for this one, and this time, I really mean it. I'm usually unaffected by horror movies, but immediately after watching Hereditary, I had to put on a Disney film just so I could snap out of the macabre trance it had put me into. This is probably one of the scariest films to come out of the 2010s, and the perfect flick to watch if you want to get spooked in your own house at night when the lights are low. So what did you think of Hereditary? Did it bore you to tears? Or force you to spontaneously quote satanic Latin scripture on the streets? I know which one I went with. Let me know in the comments below, and if you liked the video, why not give it a thumbs up, or subscribe if you want to see more reviews like this one. I've been HB, the Horror Bot. Cheers babes.